Settle in, Arthur. There's a lesson I was forced to learn, a truth that was, well, burned into me. It's the first and maybe the most important lesson for any man who hopes to wear a crown.
So, what truly makes a king? I'll admit, I once thought it was all about appearance. About height and strength and the weight of a crown on a worthy brow. I believed in the whole ceremony of power. That is, until I witnessed the tale of two kings that changed everything.
Yeah, a tale of two kings. One was Saul, a man who looked every single inch the part. The other, a boy named David, a shepherd who seemed like the least likely choice in all the land.
I mean, just look at the contrast, Arthur. On one side, you've got Saul. He's towering over everyone, armed with royal weapons, clad in the best bronze armor money can buy. But under all that shiny metal, he was a man absolutely eaten alive by fear. And on the other side, David. Just a kid, really, armed with nothing but a shepherd's sling. His only armor was his humility, and his only real weapon was a faith so deep, it was almost unnerving to see.
My own lesson began in a place called the Valley of Elah. It was right there I saw that real strength has very little to do with muscle or metal. It was there I saw that faith is a much sharper weapon than steel could ever be.
The scene was just grim, Arthur. You have an entire army, huddled on a hillside, and they're armed with little more than farming tools and cattle prods. They were completely paralyzed by the sight of one man, a giant. You could feel the dread hanging thick in the air. And in this, you see how the world saw things. The giant, Goliath, he looked at David's simple staff and sling, and he just laughed. He roared, "Am I a dog that you come to me with sticks?" He saw a boy. He didn't see a threat. He saw weakness, not faith. And boy, was he wrong.
So while thousands of trained soldiers were cowering, David did something incredible. He just walked to a stream and calmly chose 5 smooth stones. Just 5. It was such a simple, quiet act. But in that moment of pure focus, surrounded by all that terror, I saw the heart of a true king. But courage is only one piece of the puzzle. The real test of David's character, that came later, in the darkness of a cave. This was a lesson in mercy, and it came at a moment when vengeance wasn't just possible, it was totally justified. Picture it, Arthur. Your sworn enemy, the king who's been hunting you, is asleep and helpless right at your feet. Vengeance is just a single sword thrust away. Your most loyal men are whispering in your ear, "Do it. God has delivered him to you." So, what do?
David chose mercy. He refused to harm Saul because he saw him not just as his enemy, but as the Lord's anointed, a king chosen by a higher power. He told his men, "The Lord forbid that I should stretch forth mine hand against him." In that moment of restraint, he proved he was more of a king than the man actually wearing the crown. His power wasn't in his ability to kill, but in his strength to show mercy.
And this brings us to the very next lesson, Arthur, humility. I saw it happen when David brought their most sacred object, the Ark of the Covenant, to his new capital. It was then I learned that a king's greatest praise has nothing to do with his own glory. See, David danced with all his might, casting off his royal robes in this pure, uninhibited joy. But his wife Michal, who was Saul's daughter, she was disgusted. She saw his celebration not as worship, but as a loss of dignity, an embarrassment. To her, it was all about appearances. But just look at David's response. He wasn't ashamed at all. He said he would gladly become even more undignified to honor his God. Do you see it? His sense of self wasn't tied to his title or what other people thought of him. He was humble enough to put his devotion way above his own image. This, Arthur, this is the heart of the whole lesson. This is true strength. A man who can't control his own spirit, his anger, his pride, his lust for revenge, he's like a city with broken walls. He might have an army, but his kingdom is defenseless, because the greatest enemy is always, always within. So, now, Arthur, we come to you, to your crown. Because a kingdom, a real and lasting one, it isn't built from perfect, polished stones. No, it's forged by making the broken whole. Remember this number, 400. That's how many men came to David when he was a fugitive, hiding out in the cave of Adullam. And these weren't knights in shining armor. These were men in distress, men in debt, men who were bitter of soul. They were the outcasts.
And what did David do? He didn't turn them away. He welcomed them. He became their captain. And through that, he showed me a profound truth. The finest armies, the strongest kingdoms, they're built not from the people who are already strong, but from the broken who have been healed and made whole again.
So these are what I call the Davidic qualities, the things that truly define a leader. Mercy, when revenge is easy. Humility, when pride is expected. Faith in the face of absolute fear. Character over the empty show of power. And above all else, self-mastery. This, Arthur, this is the true measure of a king.
Always remember this, Arthur. Your kingdom won't be judged by the height of its walls in the end. It will be judged by the strength of its character. And that character, it begins with you. So I ask you, what will you build?